Okay, welcome back. And in this video, we're going to talk about the flight mode. Flight modes are in the DX6, DX7, DX9, so forth. This is DX7. DX6 and DX7 are quite similar in that they have the ability for 3 flight modes, and the DX9 actually can have 5 flight modes. And what's a flight mode? Flight mode is where you have one switch that can control multiple things. So in this case, I'm going to have one switch assigned to change the limit of the control surfaces. The limit of the control surfaces is called the control throw. Normally you think of an aileron, elevator, or rudder as a control surface, and the throw of that is when you move the stick, it's 100% unless you do something different. So if you pull the stick all the way back, the elevator goes 100% up. And maybe you don't want it 100% up. Maybe you only want it 50% up or 70% up or something like that. So those are called the rates of the control throw. And the flight mode is going to control what's the maximum throw possible in that mode. And so typically what I have is I have 3 rates: a low rate, a medium rate, and a high rate. The high rate I always make 100%. The medium rate is depending upon the size of the elevator of the control surface. In this case, these are relatively small. So I'm going to use as a medium rate about 85% of the maximum, and the low rate is going to be about 70% of the maximum. Now what I'll do is, after we fly it the first time and we understand how this airplane flies, because we've never flown it before, I might adjust that 70 or 85% to be something different. The 100% will always stay 100%. So high rates is the maximum you can get out of the airplane's control surface. And the medium and low rate is going to be relative to how the airplane handles at the lower rates. So, how do you do flight modes? Well, first off, you pick a switch. In this case, I want a 3-position switch that's easy to use. The switch down here is the A switch. It's only 2-position. This is the B switch, and that's the one I like for the flight mode. This is another 3-position. That's another 3-position. I use the D switch here for the flaps. I don't use the C switch because I find this one easier to use with my finger. How do you get there? Okay, so first off, we're in the main screen. Okay, I'm going to click it, go all the way down to where it says System Setup, and click that, and it asks me if I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure. I'm going to go into System Setup, and right under Aircraft Type, you'll see Flight Mode Setup, or F Mode Setup. Okay, and to do that, you're just basically going to tell this screen what switch you want to use for your flight mode. So right now the flight mode switch is inhibited. And so I'm going to come down here where it says inhibited and click it once. And then instead of trying to roll and find it, you just flip the switch that you want. Okay, and that's switch B, and then it automatically switches to switch B. And now that I like that, I'm going to click it to lock it in. And that's it. That's how you set up the flight mode. So now there's a 3-position switch, okay, and it says on the bottom there, flight mode 1, flight mode 2, and flight mode 3. So I have a 3-position switch changing flight modes. Okay, so you say, okay, now what? Yeah, it's true. Now what? So just below that, if I go back to the setup menu screen, you're going to see where it says spoken flight mode. So the flight mode and the spoken flight mode go together. And so in the spoken flight mode, you can see it changes each time I change this. And so flight mode 1, 2, and 3. And so what I'm going to do is come down here, and where it says flight mode 1, I'm going to change that by coming in here, and I can change what it says on the screen. Okay, and so I'm going to make it say low. So there it says now low. Okay, and in the next one I'm just going to click the clear button twice, and so now it just says low. And that's going to be for the low rate. So now I hit the back button and come down here to what do I want it to say. I don't want it to say mode 1, so I'm going to click mode 1 and scroll down until I get to where it says low rates. Okay, so that's low rates, and then I can do a test down here. I'll do a test.
Low rates.
So that's low rates. Okay, and then you go to flight mode 2, and you go to flight mode 3, and you say mid and mid rates and high rates, and then you'll have your 3 flight modes, and it'll actually say 3 flight modes. So that's how you set up the flight modes. And I won't go into, it's a longer process than I want to put on the video. But you get the idea for the low. Do the same thing for their mid and high rates. And in the next video, I'll show you how we use the flight mode to set up the low, medium, and high rates in the what's called the DR and Expo, and that'll be in the next video. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned to the next video.